Hi, Watchman of Ephraim here. This video is going to be on the parable, excuse me, of the Dragnet. Somebody last week brought it before my attention and said, hey, look, God's going to throw the bad fish away. He's going to put the good fish in a container. He's going to save the good fish, going to throw the bad fish away. Here are angels gathering the good fish or the wheat, throwing the bad fish into the fire, into the furnace of fire. Is this what's going to happen in the last days, just before the kingdom? The angels are going to go forth. So this is kind of a combo parable, the wheat and the tares and the dragnet here. He told me he's going to throw the bad fish away. Hey, I've touched on this before. I've gone over this parable before concerning other videos, and my one video on the mysteries of the kingdom, which can be found in Torah. So I'm going to give this one its own video. It's very important because people they'll go to it when they are debating you, I guess, concerning the salvation of all versus the destruction of all versus the eternal torture of all. God is going to gather up every fragment. It's in the Torah. Once again, I'll touch on that. So, the parable. Matthew 13, verse 47. Supposedly one of the most gloomy chapters in the Bible. Weeping and gnashing of teeth, wailing, as people are thrown into a giant furnace. Verse 47, again the kingdom of heaven is like a dragnet that was cast into the sea and gathered some of every kind, which when it was full they drew to shore, and they sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but they threw the bad away. Verse 48, look, but they threw the bad away. Is that where these people are going? The angels are going to throw the bad away into the furnace of fire. Sounds pretty convincing, right? Well, let's just go on. Once again, we're going to clarify this parable. Once again, good old verse 52. Then he said to them, therefore, every scribe instructed concerning the kingdom. What did a scribe do in Jesus, Yeshua's day? A scholar of the Old Testament translated here. Or another translation, every expert in the Torah, every expert in the law. I could pull up translation after translation. I've done it before. So this is the clue here. This is the key to, let me just throw it up right here. Picture a question mark. What's this? What's it all about here? Matthew 13. To you it has been given to know the mysteries of the kingdom, but to them who are outside it has not been given. And in verse 52, as I've gone to many times, every expert in the Torah, every scribe of the kingdom, a scribe was responsible for recording the Torah, the ancient scriptures, the Tanakh, and also interpreting these scriptures when there was a dispute on what they meant. So we have a mystery again. We have a mystery again. Need to go to the Torah. Think not that I came to destroy the Torah and the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. That was his mission statement. I have laid up your Torah in my inmost being. Psalm 40, verse 8. It was an instruction manual by God given to the Son and how to restore all things, which you, the priests, if you and I are worthy to attain that age, we're going to assist in purifying humanity. That's what it's all about. Becoming holy. So we have a mystery on our hands. Is this the fate of most of humanity? No, it's not. It's blaspheming God. So let's get into, first of all, let me go to, I got some scriptures here. Good old Leviticus 13. And he was going to make me type it out if I did it that way. Leviticus 13, the law, the judgment of the leper. The leper judgment, the sinner judgment, once again. Remember you the law, the Torah of Moses, my servant, for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments. Why? Because in these mysterious codes, these judgments, and these mysterious statutes, the holy days, and this shadowy, dark saying, this allegory, I don't know, figurative leper judgment, lies the key. Verse 45, now the leper, translate, the one with Sarat, now the leper, the sinner, now the sinner. This is all a shadow of the sinner. I've shown it many times. On whom the sore is, his clothes shall be torn and his head bare, and he shall cover his mustache and cry, unclean, unclean. He shall be unclean. He's a filthy sinner. He's got intentional sin. But since the Day of Atonement is going to be applied here at the beginning of the kingdom, there's going to be no more death outside the camp. One goat had his flesh and hide destroyed outside the camp, and the sins of mankind went to an uninhabited place. They disappeared. All the days he has the sore, he shall be unclean. He is unclean. He's a filthy, rotten sinner. You and I are filthy, rotten sinners. We need to become clean. That's what our Messiah did for us. He did for mankind, and he's going to do it in three phases, actually two. Okay, he's the first part of that three phase of the kingdom, three phases. He's unclean, he shall dwell alone, his dwelling shall be, remember, outside the camp. So Messiah's tipping you back. It's the judgment. The leper judgment that will take place outside the camp. Before the law was changed, it was death, stoning and being burned. A couple times. I think one of them was if you took a woman to be a wife and you also took her mother. That was a real abomination to God. He said, you'll be burned with fire. Outside the camp here, right? His dwelling shall be alone. His dwelling shall be outside the camp. Then it goes on here, I'm not going to go into it, that his garment is examined for sin. The plague. If it's in there, his garment has to be what? Burned in the fire and washed with water. This is the shadow of the lake of fire. So we need to look at this word away. Go back. Matthew 13, verse 48. But the angels come, separate the good fish from the bad. The bad fish, they threw the bad away. Okay, we want to look at this word away. It's a terribly, terribly mistranslated word. Shouldn't even be there for the Greek word that's there. The Greek word is exo. Now, the definition. There are two words that you translate this Greek word. Exo, like exoskeleton. Like an insect has an exoskeleton. It's outside. Two words. Messiah was pulling from the leper judgment here. Exo, outside or without. Okay. His dwelling shall be outside the camp. So exo here, translated outside or without. Okay. It never should be translated away, although they do translate it away. But it's not the definition. Here's the definition. Outside, without. Usage, without, outside. Then if you go down here, the NASB translation, in other words, this is what like the New King James, the people who made the New King James Bible, they translated it. They translated the word away 2 times. Outside 20 times, outsiders 3. So the dominant is outside. Outer 1. Away is not a definition. Away should never be the translation here. These were immortal soul, eternal torture believers that did this translation. It is a most destructive translation. But Messiah plainly said, to figure out this mystery, you gotta go to the Torah, the very thing he came to fulfill. That's his mission statement. That's his instruction manual for being Melchizedek and being your Messiah. The most intelligent being that exists, you would think would have an intelligent plan to correct everything that went wrong. And he did. So here's the outside, without. That's the proper translation for exo. Okay. Again, they use the word away twice. That's not even a definition. Shouldn't even be used. Okay? So let's go to the proper translation. The disciples' literal New Testament got it right. Okay? So we're going to go. I have this. I bought this about 7-8 months ago. Let's go to the proper. Let's just put it in here. Let's just isolate it out. Well, no, let's just go to it. Okay, verse 47. Again, the kingdom of the heavens is like a dragnet, having been cast into the sea and having gathered fish of every kind. Verse 48. Which when it was filled, having pulled it up on the shore and having sat down, they collected the good ones into containers and threw the bad ones outside. That's the proper translation. Okay? Let me see how they translate verse 52. I never really looked at it. And the one who said to them, for this reason, every scribe, having become a disciple in the kingdom of the heavens. Okay, here we have again scribe, expert on the Old Testament. Same thing here. So if we isolate it out, Matthew 13. Okay. Again, the kingdom of the heavens is like a dragnet, having been cast into the sea and having gathered fish of every kind, which when it was filled, having pulled it up on the shore and having sat down, they collected the good ones into containers and threw the bad ones outside. Exo, outside. Threw the bad ones outside. Do you see where the Messiah got his doctrine? From the Torah, which means instruction, which means teaching. That was his instruction to the Father. And how to set up this kingdom. This is the model of the kingdom. the camp in the wilderness. The priests are going to be right here. You and I, if we are worthy to attain that age, we are going to be responsible for restoring these people, for bringing them into a state of holiness, of wholeness, restoring them back. These rebels, these ones that commit lawlessness, they're going to be cast outside. We're going to cast them out. The angels are going to come forth. They're going to be cast when Messiah returns. Cast them out. Cast them out. Cast them outside. Cast them outside. Okay, get it? I just wonder how. I haven't gone there in a long time. Numbers 5. Model for the kingdom. What in the world here? This disciples New Testament. I would have. Hold on. Doesn't have an Old Testament. Let's just continue on here. Let me go to. I was going to go to Numbers 5. Command the children of Israel that they cast outside of the camp every leper, everyone who has a discharge. Everyone that has touched a dead body, you shall cast them outside. Okay, that's where Messiah got his doctrine, his instruction. I can go there. Let's just go to the New King James. Let's go back. What am I doing? Oh, okay. Never mind. You know what? Let's just stick here. Sorry. Let's just go on here. Maybe I'll come back to it. Let's go to Luke 13. Let's see another good translation. Luke 13. 28. Jesus telling the religious leaders, his disciples are with him too. Let me see where I can. Verse 28. In that place there will be weeping and grinding of teeth when you see Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and all the prophets in the kingdom of God. Here we go, the mysteries of the kingdom. But you being thrown outside. Disciples, literal New Testament, got it right. Instead of being thrown out or cast out. Thrown outside. So hey, let me get out of that. That's Facebook. So hey, here we go again. Thrown outside. Okay? You rebel, you're going to get thrown outside. These people are going to be outside looking in at Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all the saints in the first resurrection, these Pharisees, these Sadducees, these lawyers, these scribes. They threw it all away, gnashing their teeth. They're going to be outside. Okay? Let's go to the New King James. Let's go to Mark 4. Notice the mysteries of the kingdom in Mark 4. But when he was alone, those around him with the 12 asked him about the parable. And he said to them, to you it has been given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God. But to those who are what? Outside, all things come in parables. Notice the terminology that the Messiah is using here. Outside the camp. He studied the Torah. Okay? Notice the terminology. Once again, 1 Corinthians 5. Remember Paul. How he dealt with the sinner in Corinth. He threw him out. Okay? So the parable of the dragnet should be properly translated exo, which is outside. Gathered the good ones into containers, but threw the bad ones outside. They're going to go outside to the lake of fire. That's when it starts, at the beginning of the millennium. Anybody that develops intentional sin, no more death outside the camp because of the Day of Atonement, because of Messiah going outside the camp, right? Let's just wrap it up here. Once again, Hebrews 13, right? We have an altar from which those who serve the tabernacle have no right to eat, for the bodies of those animals whose blood is brought into the sanctuary by the high priest for sin are burned what? Outside the camp. Therefore Jesus also, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered outside the gate. Therefore let us go forth to him outside the camp, bearing his reproach. Who went outside the camp? Let me get rid of that. Who went outside the camp? And died for us outside the camp. Who abolished death, took our sins away in his hide and flesh, and went outside the camp, died, destroyed the sins, and they disappeared into an uninhabited land. The goat of departure, the Azazel goat. So when it comes back, they're going to be thrown outside into the lake of fire, the furnace of fire, to have their garments washed, burned, the old man of sin destroyed, the new man being put on. Let's tie it in. Revelation 22. Let's do the New International Version. I don't like the King James. Wrap it up. Blessed are those who wash their robes, not who keep his commandments, who do his commandments. It's a bad translation. Wash their robes, washing them in the water, right? Outside the camp, outside the gate. That they may have the right to the tree of life and may go through the gates into the city. Gates, outside the gate, Messiah. All these things are tipping you back to the camp. Outside, but outside are dogs. Hey, that's a video coming up. Why is the first sinner described as a dog? He's giving you the mystery concerning what unclean animals represent. Outside are dogs. Okay? And it goes on. Those who practice magic arts, the sexual immoral, the murderers, the idolaters, and everyone who loves and practices falsehood. After the dogs, this is why you need to know Torah. Why do they mention dogs? There's two things. I'm going off on a tangent here. There's two things a dog lacks, an unclean dog. He's actually worse than a swine. Great stuff. These are the people you're going to be dealing with in the lake of fire. You're going to have to get to the root of the problem as a priest. You're not going to throw these people outside because they're not eating clean meat. Boy, you're a priest. We have to figure out why dogs are in the lake of fire. I'm going off on a tangent here. Something totally different. Totally, it's connected here, but it has to deal with the law, the Torah of clean and unclean animals. Why is a dog? And then all these sins are listed that follows. As he declared to his servants, the prophets, it's tipping you back. You got to figure out why, as a priest, why dogs are in the lake of fire. It's an animal. It's then you have all these sins listed after it. Oh man, I'm sorry. I got to do this video. It probably should be one of a few. Outsider dogs. This reveals the mystery of what clean and unclean meat or animals represent. Clean and unclean animals represent. What does a dog lack that gets it thrown, them, people, thrown outside into the lake of fire? He lacks two major things. All right, so that's it for this video. So the bad will be thrown outside. That's the parable of the Dragnet. So thank you for your time and thank you for listening.